What's happening, people? Scarfy's First Look here, back with another one of these weekly shows every Monday, 8 p.m. Today, I'm joined by three fabulous guests. Firstly, Crackers, how you doing?
Yeah, evening, Harry. Evening, everybody. Very well, thank you very much. I was enjoying the intro music there, Harry. You and Holly have got some good intro music. I will have to speak to the boys at Last Word on Spurs to get
Yeah.
themselves a little bit of garage or a little bit of hip hop vibes going at the start, because that's
Yeah.
what us 50 something year old men are into, like. But no,
I
I'm all
love
good.
it.
And thank you for the invite on. But one thing I want to know, Harry, has
Yeah.
everybody stopped crying yet because we won on Saturday? Like, when's the
I know.
replay? Oh man. Anyway,
All,
I
all,
suppose
all
it's
the
like that.
ex-footballers and pundits have all gone quiet, I've noticed.
Oh man. Honestly, just
Ridiculous.
like
I'm sure we're
deal
going to
with
get
it.
into it.
Deal with
We're
it.
definitely going to get into it. Marlon, how are you doing, mate?
I'm good, Harry. It's about time I was on this show. You've been on mine a
Absolutely.
few times, and I've kind of been like, I'm busy, but I thought I'd
Yeah,
definitely do this
no,
one today. So,
I've been pushing for a while.
yeah, you have been pushing me. No, thanks for inviting me, and yeah, I'm glad to be on finally.
Yes, glad to have you on. Jordan, how you doing, mate?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on. It's
Pleasure.
good to be back, and it's good to be back on some winning ways because things haven't been all good around Spurs, and we all know that. There's not much to celebrate, but when you get a win like that, one that you don't really deserve, you can go away with a grin on your face, and you can just laugh. You can just laugh and just soak it
Yeah.
in. You don't deserve it, but 3 points, that's all I see.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the way you look at it. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I believe you're all making the debut on the show all at once. So that's, yeah, fabulous. Great to have you all on. Before we crack into it, quick partnership message from our partners, Security VPN. Security VPN is the premier choice for secure and private internet browsing. With the rise of online threats and surveillance, it's become more important than ever to protect your online identity and data. Their VPN service ensures that you can surf the internet without having to worry about prying prices. At Security VPN, they are committed to providing you with the highest level of security and privacy. Their VPN service is designed to protect your online activities from hackers, cybercriminals, and government surveillance. With their VPN, you can browse the internet, access your favorite websites, and stream your favorite shows without any restriction. Use the code SCARFY at checkout to get 25% off your first month. And I've been told that rolls for a long time, so it's great to hear. Now that's done, let's crack into it. Actually, before we do, if you're new, don't forget to check out the channel on the route to 400 subs. Today, I've been blown away by the amount of subs that I've got. I woke up, I think, with something like 370, and I believe we're now at something like 398. So incredible. Thank you all for that. Let's crack into it. And I'm going to start with you, Crackers. Your thoughts. I want to know your thoughts on the team before the game. Now, and you saw us unchanged from that draw at Everton. So I want to know your initial thoughts looking at the team news.
Well, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because I don't think they've really got much choice at the moment with who they play with the injuries. So, but then you feel like I don't want to watch this anymore. I can't watch this 3-4-3 anymore. This is terrible. But I don't know. I think they're just stuck. I think they're stuck with what they've got until they get a couple of people back from injury. Maybe Dan Juma starting. Why not? He at least we actually saw him on Saturday, which is something. He does exist, which is quite
Still
nice.
alive.
I thought he might just be a figment of our imagination, but I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a tough to watch, but really they've got options choice at the moment, really with personnel. So, but then again, people say can't play a flat back four at the moment because we've really got no left back. But these are highly paid professional footballers. If you can't adapt your game a little bit, just a tweak, just move from. I mean, you're not asking Harry Kane to go in goal, even though he has done in the past, or you're asking Hugo Lloris to go up front. Can you imagine that, by the way? Hugo Lloris trying to take shots. There'd be balls landing in Stamford Hill, wouldn't there? Edmonton, it'd be all over the place. But, just some of the players, just a small tweak to what you normally do, just so we can tweak the formation and just try something. With what can we lose other than not having to watch some boring, turgid style of football this season? So I think it's as you were, and I think it will be for the rest of the season now. So let's see.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there, Crackers. Marlon, do you agree with what Crackers said about that? And do you know your thoughts when you saw that team was unchanged?
Yeah, no, I agree. You kind of got no choice in the matter in a moment. The team kind of picks itself. Yeah, I knew it was going to be exactly the same. I couldn't see much changing, but it was the tactics. And I said, I was talking to you Saturday before that game. I said what would happen. I knew it would happen.
No, you're right.
We had to. I said we had to go with the same tactics. If it was going to work, it was going to work against Brighton. And obviously there was a little tweak that he did play because Kulu actually dropped back into midfield. But again, it was a great tactical switch. And then obviously Danjuma coming on later, which we'll get into. But yeah, no, it was all expected. And the result that we saw, I kind of expected it. I expected Brighton to have all the play. I predicted it because I just knew what Brighton. I said, like, I've watched Brighton the week before, and I've watched Brighton a couple of times this season, and I just knew that we were a team that could frustrate them, and that's exactly what we did. We frustrated them. Yeah, we had a bit of luck, that new lad at the back, as Wayne Bonner said, helped us out, but it is what it is.
Oh, I love it. No, I think again, you're spot on, Marlon. So thank you for that, and give credit where credit is due. You definitely said that when speaking to you Saturday. You said it was going to work, and it did just about. Jordan, let's bring you in on this. I want to know your thoughts as well. Hour before kickoff, you see that team's unchanged from Everton. You've got fans slightly, frustrated, if you like, that haven't seen Danjuma or the same formation. But I want to know your thoughts.
Yeah, so for me, I'm a bit disappointed before the game. I'll be totally real, because when you look at the starting lineup, it's been the starting lineup where we've bottled it. The team that for me has showed lack of character, a lack of mentality going into a lot of these games, and I've given up sort of on some of these players. So seeing them play time and time out in the team and being unchanged, for me, it doesn't set a nice tone to the rest of the team, the rest of the players. Because as we know, when Danny Rose was here, he was saying, you're playing these players week in, week out that are playing shit. But then when the other players are playing good and training, they're not getting the chances. And it was nice to see Danjuma finally get his little 10, 15 minutes on the pitch. But I just want to see more. I want to see more from Stellini. I want to see more from the team at the moment. Are starting to just expand the players that we're using. So potentially seeing Sarr in the team a bit more, seeing maybe Divine, Mundle, and those types of players bleeding into the team eventually. But from the performance itself, we got the 3 points. As I said, we got the job done. I think we did have a bit of luck, as we will get into, I'm sure, with VAR. A few decisions that probably should have went the other way, but it happens to all of us. It happens to Tottenham too. There's been plenty of times where decisions should have went our way and we've dropped points. So you give and you take, and unfortunately, VAR was on our side this weekend. So we got the 3 points. You can be happy about that. But the performance in itself isn't convincing enough to show me that next week or in the next few weeks, when we got games against Newcastle and so on, that we're gonna turn up. And Man United. We've got some big games ahead. Man United, Liverpool, Newcastle. Big games if we want to get top four. And these types of performances don't show me any more confidence to go into those games. I think we can win or we can get some points, because right now those teams are going to turn us over, especially the way that they're playing and the way we're playing.
No, I agree. I completely agree. But so thank you for that. Coming back to you though, Jordan, I want to know for you how important that win, because you had Newcastle winning, you had Man United winning. Obviously, some, said that if we lose, that's top four done. So where do you scale, the importance of that win against Brighton?
It's a very important win, definitely, because Brighton were closing and still are closing in on us in the 5th position, if that means anything. But we needed the win because Man United and Newcastle still have a game in hand on us, and they're both 3 points ahead of us. So we need, as I said, we're playing both of them coming up. If we can get points in the games against them, that will be sort of where we're gonna we can figure out where we're going to be finishing in the table. But I'm only going to wait until we play those games to see any more confidence in this team, because, as I said, we've got a few more easy games coming up, but those games are going to be the most important ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Marlon, do you agree? Do you think it's a really important win against Brighton, or is it just the 3 points you're looking at?
I'm just looking at the 3 points. I've
Fair enough.
completely given up on this team. I gave up on this team after the Arsenal game, the North London derby. I literally gave up on them then, because I've been in a situation since then. If they couldn't turn up for a North London derby at home, when are they ever going to turn up? And all they've done is just disappoint us. Like I said, and I will repeat this, I just knew the formation that we would play and the type of team we are and the way we've played all season, we were going to frustrate Brighton. And that's why we ended up beating them, because we are just the sort of team Brighton can't play against. We've got the quality with Son and Kane, which both scored, which will always shine through in games like that, because Brighton don't have that. Like, there was so many times that Welbeck and I think it was McAllister, they took an extra touch instead of just playing it. And this is Brighton. Right, and De Zerbi, I know he was upset with Stellini's comments, but he's right. He's Graham Potter set the foundations, and he's just tweaked it a little bit and got more goals out of them. But they're still the philosophy is still the same there, and that's why I knew we would frustrate them. As for Bournemouth, we just got to play. I'm just taking each game as it comes. Bournemouth is next. I'm not even, and then it's the dreaded 3. If we win them, we win them. If we don't, we don't. At the end of the day, I said, Champions League or no Champions League, couldn't care less, right? Because if we're going to sit there and go out to a half, an AC Milan team that got battered by Chelsea, by the way, and we couldn't even do anything against them, and the players didn't show the away leg they were better. The home leg was just okay. This is just crap, right? But yeah, if it's Europa League, it's Europa League. If it's Conference League, it's Conference League. I don't really mind which one. I don't care, to be honest, as long as we go into them competitions trying to win them. Because Champions League, we ain't got a chance, have we? Let's be honest. We're not going to get the players to compete with the Real Madrids, the Bayern Munichs, the Man Cities, and all them. We're not going to buy them players. So why don't we go into a competition where we actually have a realistic chance of doing it? For me,
no, I like that way of looking at it. Crackers, I want to bring you onto this, and I want to know where you stand. After that Brighton victory, do you see it as really, really important? Huge, or do you, like Marlon says, you look at it as it's just 3 points? We've got more cup finals, to the rest of the season to go.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you kind of stand with that?
Well, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because we certainly don't deserve top 4, to be honest, this season, and it probably does us a big favour not to be in there and to be embarrassed again almost. I don't know, maybe Conte now. It would be different if we do make it and they're actually playing for a manager they want to play for, and a manager that seems to take Champions League qualification and getting through seriously, because Conte's got a terrible Champions League record wherever he's managed. He's been awful in it. He stunk the place out. But so you kind of think, well, maybe it does us a favour not to be in top 4 and into the Champions League, and maybe go into a competition like the Europa or the Conference League.
Crackers, can I just pose you just a quick question on that? Yeah. Don't you think, for me, I don't really blame this in Conte. I blame this on the players, because don't you think before we've seen these players go out in the Europa League to Dynamo Zagreb, we've seen these players in the Europa Conference League. It's these same group of players, and they're all good enough in every game to beat the teams that we should have beaten. But it's the lack of character and mentality from them as to why we go out in these games against teams that we should almost completely wipe over. It happens time and time again over the past 5 years.
Yeah. No, they are just as culpable themselves. There's a lot of people in that team that need to take a good long look at themselves, their attitude, the way they've played, and some of them just simply ain't good enough. They're just not good enough. They've been at the club too long. They need to move along. Football's so fluid. You've always got to have turnover. Managers, players. Boards of directors, may I add as well. They can come and go just the same. But I don't know. The trouble is, for you to be able to compete with the type of players that you want at your club, you have to have Champions League. You know, the first thing a lot of these players will say is, "Oh, no Champions League. I'll go somewhere else." So it's a double-edged sword. Too many people poo-poo things like the FA Cup, the League Cup, the Europa League, which was the UEFA Cup. You know, I'm old enough to remember us winning the UEFA Cup in 1984, and it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. You know, so
jealous. I'm jealous that you're able to witness
man,
that.
it was just
That's a bit
fantastic. You know, even the Conference League, Harry. If we got into that, okay, I know we've got to play leggier trousers and Dynamo cheeky girl and da 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 da. But if you get to the final of that and you win it will be unbelievable. I guarantee you, it will be absolutely off the scale. So it's a tough one. You know, Saturday was Saturday, but there's some big tests to come. Some big tests to come. There you go. Sevilla built their club on Europa League success. You know, walk before you run. Walk before you can run, and it just winning breeds success.
Absolutely, yeah. No, thank you for that, crackers. Marlon, coming back to you. So Son has now scored 100 goals in the Premier League, all for Tottenham. So making him the first Asian player to do so. So I want to know your thoughts on the achievements. You know, happy for him and where he's been all season. If you could answer that.
Do you know what? Yeah, I'm over the moon for Son. I love him as a player. I've stuck by him longer this season than I should have probably have. I'm one of them. I'm sentimental with him. So when everyone's, he's got to be dropped, he's got to be that. I was like, no, Spurs are still scoring goals. It's fine. It's okay. My problem was always going to be with our defenders. So I was always all right with Son playing because I think we're the third highest goal scorers in the league. Yeah. And Son hasn't hit 4. Yeah. Kane's still playing well. Kane plays well with Son, right? And I find that a lot of teams this year, I find two things. I feel Perisic coming in, Son had to adapt his game. Conte's tactics this year has changed compared to last season as well, which also meant Son had to change his game, right? So there was a lot of factors going into it, but I wasn't really that fussed because it wasn't having a knock-on effect of what was going forward, if you get what I mean. So I wasn't too fussed, but seeing what he did on Saturday, I was literally so happy for him because it just put a little bit of a tactical change again that there was there on Saturday. He was able to play slightly better. He wasn't great, don't get me wrong. He wasn't at his best like we've seen him, but he was able to shift it on his right foot and do what Son does best, right? And hopefully in these next couple of weeks, we'll start seeing more of this, start seeing a more confident Son. And hopefully, I'm just happy for the guy. And I'm glad he done it in a Spurs shirt because, you know what, he's given us so much joy. And even though a lot of people have not stuck with him this year, but we still stuck with him. The managers won't drop him, but he deserves it. He deserves every accolade he gets because he's been absolutely brilliant for Spurs.
Thank you, Marlon. Jordan, do you agree?
I agree and disagree. That's the thing with me. I was one of the people that last season and every other season prior to this, I've been one of Son's biggest fans. I'm the one that's been forcing the argument that he's not a purple patch player. Son turns up all season and he adds in different ways to our team. And last season, I was the biggest, again, I was calling him the best winger in the Premier League. They had me on the stream saying it. I was saying, Son's the best. You can't get better than him. So I only expected him to build on that. This season, it's not been good enough for me. And he knows that himself. And I like when players take accountability. But I've been of the group of people that are saying we need to sort of drop Son for a while. I think because when we did before that Leicester game, we dropped him. He came back, hat-trick. And when we brought Danjuma in, I thought, okay, we're going to bring Danjuma and show Son that when you're playing bad, you're not going to get as much game time as you think. And we need to drop those players because Son, time in and time out, for every manager, through his bad patches of form that he does have, he just gets played. And I don't feel like we should continue to play him through it. But I can't take nothing away from him. That goal on the weekend was amazing. It's what Son does. The only goals he's scored for us this season have been like that. They've been worldies. He's scoring from the edge of the box to his left foot, his right foot, and it's just what he does. One of the greatest finishers that you will see ever for Tottenham, and 100 Premier League goals. It's amazing. I know where does he rank for Tottenham now in the Premier League goals? He's probably top 5, right? Because he's definitely way out there. So
I think so.
I'm glad for the many years that he's been with us, but I do think that next season we do need to look at someone to replace him because he's getting on. He's 31, 32, so we can't expect him to play how he was 2-3 seasons ago. So we need to bleed someone through new, and hopefully the guy that was playing on the opposite side, Mitoma, that's a great little pick if you ask me. He caused us some damage, so that'd be an amazing player to add to our left wing, and I think he can take us somewhere.
George, quick question here, right? Because you asked for him to be dropped, right? Again, you openly admit that.
Yeah.
But question: who of our wingers this season who's actually played on left and right and actually played well at all?
I feel like Richarlison at time we have seen he
not
has
on the left.
well.
Come on, not on the left.
On the left, he's had one or two.
And on the right, he's been awful. Come on.
He did have the game recently where
and that was one game. But every time he's come on, like anytime anyone's come on in those positions,
I do agree that
no one has been able to cement themselves enough to go, son, you're at the team.
You're right, but Danjuma hasn't had the opportunity, and he's been here for 3 months now.
But I know with Danjuma, it's like we'll have to be honest with ourselves, right? We don't see what happens in training. We don't see what he's doing. So, and even on Saturday, right? His pace, even on Saturday, he didn't actually come on and play well. His pace was the reason why we were able to do what we did, right? But actually, when you look at his 10-15 minutes, did he play? Did he play to say he should be in the team?
But the thing is, you have to remember match sharpness. If a player's not playing week in, week out, even 30-minute opportunities week in, week out, he could build it.
But top players will take their opportunity, will they not?
But he's not. I mean, I feel like any player like him, he's not. He's not a top player. He's a player that you'll bring into your team and he'll score a few goals. But if you bring him on and you let him play, you'll see and you'll get the best from him. Because if you see at Villarreal, he had one of his best seasons just last season when they done their Europa League Cup run.
But again, I think that's down to his manager. That's more down to the manager that he has. And I think with certain players, and this is always going to be with Spurs, there's going to be certain players, if they're good, they play well under certain managers. But if you give them someone else, they completely Danjuma's come in. He's been playing under Emery, which is probably a bit more fluid, a bit more attacking, and then he's come to Spurs under Conte, who we're very defensive, right? That's how we've been playing all season, and he just might not shine in our team, especially when he's got Harry Kane and Son, who have got a partnership that is effective. No matter how we put it, is effective because even for that second goal. Who lays the ball to Højbjerg then for Højbjerg to put it to Kane? It was Son. So I think
we can say that we definitely score a lot of goals, but if we're being totally honest, that front three lacks a lot of creativity, and that's the problem.
I totally agree.
Why.
And doesn't that come from our midfield?
Personally, I just think it's because we're running out of new ideas. They've played together for such a while. Let's say Son and Kane. People are starting to figure them out. Everyone knows they're moving.
Yeah, of course.
They just space themselves. But of course, you can't always stop them because they're world-class players. Yeah. But again, I think that it lacks creativity and you need to bring new people in there to create new sparks. And that's the only way. And right now with 8 games to go, it's even going down even more. 8 games to go. We need to try something new at times because this team is not going to get us into the top 4. And like I said, I don't really care about getting top 4 until we bring in a new manager and we know what the plan is going to be because right now, Tottenham doesn't know. We don't know what's going to happen next season. We don't know if Kane's going to stay. We don't know what manager we're going to have. There's no clear plan.
We've got too many questions.
There's really no clear plan to go and say, let's get Champions League because what are we going to do during the Champions League? Same as this season. There's no point. I'd rather go Europa League and win it, like you said, and actually go into a competition and win it than go Champions League and get knocked out in the first or second round just to get an extra 5-10 million.
But you know full well. Let's be honest. All us fans know if Man United and Newcastle get Champions League football next year, they're going to spend the money on getting and maintaining Champions League football. They're going to actually go over and above, and they're doing it now. And even when they ain't got it, right? But Newcastle, it's going to take them to the next level because they'll be able to attract players. But we'll just sit there and twiddle our thumbs and just go, he's too expensive. We have to prepare for the future in this, that, and the other. And we never think about the now. And I think that's kind of what's done us this season as well, because all the players that we bought last summer are probably apart from Basuma and Perisic, everyone kind of went, they're all bench players. They're not players that a Champions League team should really be buying. And I think that was our biggest issue last summer, that we just kind of bought to build a bench instead of actually building on that first team. And obviously, Bentancur getting injured as well did not help.
No, it certainly did. And Crackers, I want to bring you onto this. So Son, yeah, obviously 100 Premier League goals now for him. As I said, the first Asian player to ever do that. So I want to know where you stand on, that achievement and where he's been all season, and whether you want to keep or sell him in the summer.
Well, I think there's been a lot of whys, whats, wherefores, and different things that could be possibly feeding into Son this season. I like him. He's fantastic. Firstly and foremostly, he's a fantastic footballer, but lost his way this season a little bit. Perisic making the runs that he normally did. Conte clipping his wings. I think he's just, he's no midfield to feed him. If you want to be a world-class bricklayer, someone's got to bring you bricks to lay. And he's got no one doing that. You could argue maybe you go and find, those chances yourself, but generally you need a midfield feeding you. And I just don't think he's enjoyed his football this season, to be honest, under Conte. I don't think he's liked playing under Conte. He's very sadly just lost his grandfather, but passed away.
Yeah.
And, Southeast Asia has a very, very different family culture to Europe and other parts of the world, whereby, grandparents, they sit as head of the family. So, if his grandfather was sadly ill for a while, that may have fed into, how he was and how he was feeling. He's just not played with that smile on his face this season, has he? He always had that smile on his face.
Yeah.
Maybe there was a case for him to be dropped for a few games, give him a bit of a rest. But I do wonder if the club sometimes look at their ticket sales and see not hundreds, but thousands. I mean, thousands.
And merchandise.
Exactly. And they come into that club shop and they spend. I mean, they're not in there buying a key ring and a pint like us lot, They're in there buying every shirt and this and that and everything else. So I kind of wonder whether maybe at some stage there would have been a conversation of giving Sonny a rest, and somebody upstairs has gone, oh, no chance. No chance. We've got 3,000 South Koreans here on Saturday, and they're expecting to see like Elvis Presley. They've come to see him. So maybe there's factors of that as well. But Saturday was nice because that goal was Son. That is Son. That is Son's trademark. And it was lovely to see. And he looked like he had a little bit more of a smile on his face. Looks like maybe towards the end of the game, a little bit of the muscle memory of Conte and, dare I say, Mourinho was beginning to shake off. And, there's no Lidl's version of Conte either, is there, next week with Stellini now out? So, maybe, just maybe with Mason now, these players that have let us down this season will want to actually play for him because he's a little bit more of one of their own as such. So let's see. But Sonny, I'd keep him. I'd keep him. Yeah. There's still a decent player there. Okay. He is coming to an age, obviously, but he's still good enough for us. He genuinely is. And I think you get the smile back on his face and you get a great player back.
Yeah.
There
Jordan,
you go.
Yeah, exactly. That comment sums it up perfectly. Jordan, I'm going to come to you because I know you've got to go. You've basically answered that. We're going to get a one-word answer here. I want to know, keep or sell Son in the summer. One-word answer. Jordan, you first.
I'd keep him.
You keep him.
I'd keep him just so he can help the new person that comes in adapt and just have another option. Because, like you say, Son's world class, and you can't take that ability away from him. But he needs to be a second-string player next season.
Okay, fabulous. And Jordan, thank you for coming on today. I'm aware you've got to go. So before you go, where can people find you?
You can just find me on Twitter or Instagram, or @_4George. Durag Diaries on TikTok, where I've been a bit inactive recently, but I'm coming back. Don't worry, guys. I've just been dealing with other stuff. But yeah, it was very good to be back on. Thank you very much today, Harry, and it was good being with you guys. Cheers, Crackers. Cheers, Marlon, and yeah.
No problem, George.
Thank you for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Marlon, I want to know, again, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah.
Keep or sell Son in the summer? It's a big question. Lots of people suggest, say a lot of things about Son, but when they get asked that one-word answer, keep or sell, it's often not answered. So Marlon, you're the next one on the spot.
I would sell, and I'm going to explain why. Yeah, I'm going to explain why. He has given us so much positive things since he's been here. I'm at the stage where if a top club comes in for him, and this is where I'm at, I'm only selling him to a top club, a big club like Barcelona, the Real Madrid, and that, where he can go and win stuff. And we've had him for he's the best parts of his career, but if he means he's going to go somewhere and win something, because it ain't going to be here, unfortunately. I just don't see it happening. Let him go and win something elsewhere for a big side. But it has to be a big side. It has to be like the Bayerns of this world, the Real Madrids and stuff like that. If it's a Newcastle, no, stay here. I don't want him sold. But if it's a big, massive club with bigger ambitions, I'm happy for Sonny to go and fulfill the dream, because if he was to go to one of them sides and win the Champions League next year, I'll be the first one with a Son shirt on my back.
Okay, interesting. Thank you, Marlon. Yeah, thank you for that. It's a long one-word answer, but thank you for that. Crackers, I'm going to put you next on the spot. I think you pretty much answered it, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Son, keep or sell, summer?
Keep. He's a keep for me. He pays for himself, Harry, to be honest. Look, everything should be a football decision, just purely football. But football's a business now, and he just brings us so much exposure. AIA's, the insurance people, sponsorship, fans coming in from South Korea. I would keep him. I'd like him to retire with Spurs and then become like an ambassador for us in South Korea. There's some fabulous players coming through from that part of the world, by the way. So here's somebody that could go and find us the next Son. Who better to find the next Son than Son? So I mean, you have to have a balance. There's a lot more positions and players that I'd be kicking out the door before Sonny. So I just think he brings us still a hell of a lot of football, but he brings us a hell of a lot off the pitch as well. Now I know that doesn't sit well with a lot of people, but it is a reality. It is a reality that you have got to keep those cash registers ringing, to keep the club somewhere around these other clubs that are just get Son on your Legends Night, Crackers. I'm afraid what I could offer him as an appearance fee, he might just raise an eyebrow and go, mate, I'm not getting out of bed for that. So
Crackers, if you got Son on a Legends Night, you'd have to get a stadium, because how many people would turn up? You could probably pay him.
Absolutely,
you probably could actually. Yeah, you absolutely could. It's he's a huge star, as somebody said earlier. 12 million Sonny Spurs fans in South Korea. You have to consider it. You might not like it, you might just say, it's football, just stick to the football side, but you do have to consider the business side of it. And he's he's a good lad. I've met him a couple of times. He is a lovely guy, and he's a keep for me. Definitely a keep.
Okay, thank you, Crackers. Before we move on, I'd just like to say, for anyone who put a question on Twitter, and I put that tweet out asking if anyone had any questions to the podcast, they will get answered. Don't worry, by the end of this show. So stay tuned, and we will get them answered. But moving on to a bit of controversy, if you like. Some, especially Brighton fans, as you can imagine, and neutrals as well, ex-pundits, current pundits, ex-players were annoyed with the referee's performance, if you like, in VAR. As a Spurs fan, obviously we're going to have, that slightly more biased view. But coming back to you, Crackers, I want to know your honest thoughts, the referee VAR yesterday. Were Brighton hard done by, and was there any decisions that you thought were incorrect? Because Brighton have said that, they appealed like 5 decisions were incorrect. For me, there wasn't 5 that were clear and obvious.
No.
To me, I don't know where they've got that number for. So, Crackers, I want to know your thoughts on this.
Well, in the crazy world of VAR, they are handballs. That's 2 handballs. So there's the 2 goals chalked off quite rightly. For me, they're not handballs, but I don't officiate the world of football. So, if Sissoko's is a handball, they're handballs. Yeah. It's as simple as that. That's the way it works. They've completely missed one with Højbjerg's trip. I mean, that's a penalty. You have to say they've got that wrong. But officials get it wrong every week, even with VAR, and it's a bit. You tune into the radio or pundits, and it's that sometimes that happens. These things even themselves out. Oh no, not when it's Tottenham Hotspur. Isn't it? It's like send Tottenham to the Hague, stand them up for war, send them to trial for war crimes. It's like it's absolutely unbelievable. It's like Harry Kane's, like when he attacked that, like he's
going on about it now.
With his eyes, he's still bleating on about it. Yeah. It's like, just let it go. People really do genuinely dislike Tottenham, and I get that. And they absolutely hate Kane, and I just can't understand the hate.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
So, but you end up getting a siege mentality, Harry, where you go, okay, because everybody's like this and hates on us, what you do is you just end up celebrating, like when you do get a decision going your way, to rub their faces in it. Just sort of, that's the pushback of it. So, look. We absolutely got away with one on Saturday. I'm more concerned about the way our style of play yet again, because it was no good. It was nowhere near. We were way off of it. We absolutely got one. And, we're just going to get our backsides handed to us on a plate if we continue to play like that at Newcastle, at Man U. But for Saturday... Hey,
Anfield as well.
It happens. I got exactly at Anfield as well. I really do not see the reason for VAR. There's no reason for VAR whatsoever. Before VAR came, referees on average got 97% of their calls right. 97%. I mean, that's a fantastic pass rate. Medical equipment, if you go in for an operation, most of the equipment in your operating theatre has a failure rate of 5%, which is less than referees and decisions. Railway signalling has to be, I think, 98%. So it's only 1% off of railway signalling. This is life or death like equipment. And they're making calls, and all of a sudden somebody comes along and goes, "Oh no, we need VAR," and now they're probably getting more decisions wrong, even with VAR. It's a nonsense. The whole thing's an absolute nonsense. So, but Saturday we got away with one. We really did.
Yeah, we certainly did, and I just want to say, what you started with about Harry Kane, I just don't get. Personally, I think it's an agenda against Harry Kane. I've never seen them still go on about it now. For example, Martinelli done at Anfield. I don't know if anyone saw Jesus at Anfield. They both like simulation dive, if you like, even more than Kane did. And what I don't get is everyone does it. And Kane, is a family man, has his own foundation. He's very good with charities. England captain, nice guy. I just personally don't understand it. Marlon, I want to know your thoughts. Referee VAR yesterday. In your honest opinion and honest thoughts, how many decisions were incorrect for you? For me, it's only one, but you could be completely different.
I thought they got 2. Now, I think the Matoma one. When I first saw it, you can see because we are Tottenham TV on Saturday, And
Oh, okay.
when we saw it, we both said, okay, it didn't look, for us, it didn't look like handball. Even when you put it down to the replays and everything that the rules are saying, we were sitting there going, it don't look like handball at all. But when it was given, we were like, oh, we got away with one there. But if it was given, I don't think one Spurs fan would have moaned. I don't think the players would have moaned. I don't think we'd be sitting here talking about it afterwards if that first one was given. That's right, and that's how I felt with it. I don't think any of us would be talking about it. No one would have said, oh, do you think it's handball? I think it was so inconclusive that I couldn't see what one bit where it looked like handball. The bit I give him credit for is the one Welbeck's goal. That was clearly, I think, even when people have come out and said, "No, it wasn't."
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah,
you can clearly see it's hit his hand. It's definitely hit his hand, and I think they got that one spot on.
Yeah, I think that's right.
The Højbjerg one, well, let's not even talk about it because that was a penalty all day long. But just go watch what happened. Just go watch what happened to us against Southampton, as people say, and you'll just go.
Yeah.
And you know what? Sometimes they just they do even themselves out. The pull on the shirt, personally, I wouldn't have given it. I wouldn't I don't think any referee would have given it. I think it would have been a very soft penalty to give away. And even if he'd given it, I'd have probably been fuming at that if he'd given
that's
it.
What VAR's there for. It's what I don't get. It's his job, clear and obvious error.
So on the VAR thing, actually, when Cracker said that percentage about what referees got wrong, that's the first time I've heard that. I thought it was a bit low. It was like 92, 93%. But actually, the problem with the people having with VAR, right? And this is where I'm an advocate for VAR, and I think it's got more right. No, I know it's got more right because I've seen the percentages. It's got more right than it's got wrong. The problem that I think we all need to we need to stop judging VAR and going, it's going to be 100% accurate, right? Because we never judge the referees' decisions on that. They're never going to be 100% accurate, nor's VAR, right? The problem that I find with VAR, right, and it's always going to be an issue. You go look at the World Cup. I think there was one or two controversies. You go look at the Champions League. Whenever there's a problem with VAR in the Champions League, go look who the refs are. They're usually English, right? They're usually the English refs, right? The biggest problem that's going on in this country right now is our refereeing, right? And it needs to be looked at, right? Because you look, Charlie Austin, when he come out and said, referees need help, the referees need help. They've got the help and they're still getting it wrong, right? Offsides at the moment, they're taking too long. I've always said there should be a time limit on VAR, right? If they're saying it's clear and obvious, give it a time limit. If you can't concrete in a minute, and that's a minute to conclude that decision, you sit there and go, we have to go with the on-field referee's decision because it's inconclusive, right? Offsides, the lines are all over the place and this, that, and the other. And when they get that wrong, you literally have to go, I'm sorry, that's not VAR's fault. VAR is showing us, the fans, and we can see it. It's showing the media, we can see it. It's how the person in Stockley Park's interpreting it is the problem.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the biggest issue. And I think a lot of us are all shouting at VAR, but VAR is just an alternative version of the events. The fact that the referees still can't get it right after having video evidence, you have to look at them and go, what are they actually doing, right? Because the refereeing, before VAR come in, the refereeing in this country was just going downhill. And actually, all that this VAR is highlighted is how bad the referees really were in the first place. And I think that's where we're at. And I think if we stop judging it on 100% and start actually looking at the way it is refed and the way it is officiated, we'll get rid of the problem. And VAR will just go into the background and we won't need them decisions anymore. And I think that's what we've got to do. As soon as that's Howard Webb's biggest job. He's got to get that sorted. Right, because it's not just happening in the Premier League. You see decisions in the Championship that are poor, and they've got no VAR. You see League One, League Two, they're so getting it wrong, and it's the way we are interpreting it and how the referees are then being judged. And I think that's the problem, right? And once we get that bit out of the way, VAR will become a thing of the past. We won't, like the World Cup's a prime example. I think there was 1 or 2 games in the World Cup we all moaned about VAR. The rest of it, quick.
I thought it was great.
Easy,
I thought the referee was great.
Yeah. The World Cup in Russia was exactly the same thing. They used VAR really well. Why is it in the Premier League that it always goes wrong? That's the question I have to ask. It's every week. If you look at Spain and Italy and all them, you get one game or there. You might get a few decisions here or there, right? And it'll be highlighted across the world, right? But when it's the English Premier League, it's every week. It's always a ref. It's always this. So actually, let's sort out the officiating and let's stop blaming VAR, because again, you put a different referee in charge of our game on Saturday, you'll get a different outcome, and that shouldn't be
the case.
And that shouldn't be the case.
But you have to be careful with this, Harry. You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater here, because sometimes getting wrong decisions, getting talking points, getting one go against you one week, getting one going for you another week, gives football its shape and its character and its identity. You know, so I mean, talk sport every day, bless them, as much as I enjoy listening to it. Every day are screaming for refereeing decisions to be better and VAR to be better. Okay, supposing we get to a point where they're getting nothing wrong. I'm telling you, Talk Sport's got nothing to talk about.
Yeah, it's boring.
Or Sky Sports News has got nothing to talk about, or BT Sport. You know, this is literally turkeys voting for Christmas here, because you're going to start losing a lot of your talking points. And one thing that's always baffled me is you've now got a multi-billion-pound business, especially the Premier League, multi-billion. And I don't know how much the refs get paid a year. I mean, they're on good money. They're on 100,000. But I think
probably, I think they're on good money.
It is good money. But at the end of the day, you've got sort of well-meaning, but also well-qualified, middle-aged guys, not too much younger than me, sort of trying to keep up with 20 to 25-year-old super athletes. I mean, super athletes. So, you know, why don't we start offering up £1 million a year to refs, or even 750 grand? Go and poach the best refs from around the world. They'll all come. If you're offering them that sort of money, they're on the next Ryan out. I'm telling you, they're coming over, and get yourself a decent set of referees. But there's a balance to be had, because when they do get it wrong, it gives you look. We're all sat here talking about it tonight. If there was no VAR decisions on Saturday, we'd all be wrapped up drinking tea now and watching EastEnders. The show would have been done, wouldn't it? So
it would be quiet.
Exactly. Be careful what you wish for. Please be careful.
And Crackers, you make a great point there. You know, it hasn't stopped us in talking about it. It hasn't stopped all that. It's actually made football slightly better, and it made it less boring as well. Because if you're right, if they were getting everything right, what the hell would we talk about? It's so right.
No, I think spot on. And I'd just like to say on that, you know, I think at the end of the day, you've got to accept that mistakes are going to be made. But listen, I was for the idea of VAR, and I'm still for the idea. But people can criticize VAR all they like, but the reality, the problem is the people who are using it. And like Crackers alludes to it perfectly, you know, go and invest, you know, increase the salary, you know, get good pair of referees, because I think the standard of refereeing in this country is shocking. I think we're so far behind National League today. I mean, I watched Wrexham and Moscow. You know, I watched that game. It was a fantastic game. The referee was terrible.
It was absolutely terrible. Yeah,
but
look at the decision at the end.
If you're going for a kick around in the park, you'd be disappointed. And we're talking really high standards.
But then he gets that decision. But then he gets that decision. Yeah, but he gets that decision at the end, completely spot on, and you're like, "But you just refereed the game so poorly. Why have you suddenly decided to be 10 out of 10 at the end?" It's like,
I'd just like to say before we move on, I think the idea of I want to shut this down quickly. The idea of Brighton fans suggesting like the game should be replayed or it's corruption, I think is ridiculous, because if Brighton want that game replayed, then we should have the Champions League final in 2019 replayed. That game against Southampton replayed, because I don't think that's a penalty. So, Crackers, your thought on the idea of Brighton fans even suggesting that the game should be replayed, I think is ridiculous. But God, I want to know your thoughts on it.
Do you know something? It wasn't even just Brighton fans wanting it replayed. I mean, Mark Saggers, who I absolutely love, who is an absolutely brilliant broadcaster, was saying it's not going to happen, but maybe there's some merit in having this game replayed. I mean, you're in the madhouse if that happens. Absolutely in the madhouse, because what we're going to do, replay every time there's a poor decision and it gets missed. The season's never going to finish. And
we'd have so many games replayed.
Oh, it was just exactly. And then all of a sudden, there'll be another reason for it to be replayed, and then another reason, and another reason. It's just, honestly, it's ridiculous. It happens. It happens. You deal with it. You suck it up. You move on, and you go to the next week. I'm more worried as a Spurs fan with the way we played Saturday than I would be being a Brighton fan, because eventually over the course of a season you end up where you deserve to be, pretty much, with that many games. You really do. And if you have the odd one or two that goes against you, of course, if they miss Champions League by a couple of points or a point, then you can maybe pinpoint that. But there'd have been somewhere else in the season where Brighton dropped a point. It could as much be that one as it could have been, dropped 3 points. It could be that
and for
one.
us, Southampton, I don't know about you, but I don't think that's a penalty, and that cost us 2 points. Although we weren't great, it cost us 2 points.
It's exactly that, So it's just, you just have to suck it up. I think what football, just popping back to VAR quickly, if we must. I mean, when they draw the lines for offside, it's like somebody's taken an old 1990s tower computer, opened up
shape.
Windows 95 and got Adobe Paint out. It's just like. But apparently they see different, more technical, cleaner lines at Stockley Park than what they show us on the screen. Well, show us what they're seeing, because we're all adults. We can all see for ourselves. They've got no system of showing you when the precise millisecond the ball leaves the player's foot, and they've got no. You've got to have that to the millisecond, and you've got to have the lines to the millimeter, because I remember Son being offside because his toe was offside. It was the toe of his shoe.
That game should be replayed. Leicester, wasn't it?
I think that was a Leicester game. Now, Son's maybe what, a size 9 shoe? So
take a guess.
Okay, if
Gaz had a nice size 9 shoe in Euro 96.
Exactly. I mean, this is what it comes down to. If we'd have had Jermaine Defoe playing, who probably wears a size 6, he'd have been onside. Like, it's nonsense. You through the looking glass. You've got to stop it and cut a line somewhere. It's calling for a replay. Just stop it. Stop it. It's nonsense.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Big up to Holly in the chat. I just think it's ridiculous. But 2 things I will suggest before we move on for VAR going forward that I'd like to see. You mentioned it there. Remind me of it. What they see inside Stockley Park when they're making that decision. I think that we should be able to see it the whole time they're making that decision on TV. The fans, this is a big thing as well. The fans in the stadium, especially when I'm there, you never have a clue what's going on. You're looking at each other, you're guessing, you're trying to work out what's going on, what the game's been stopped for. There's no clear, so I think we should be able to see that up on the screen. And the other thing is, on TV, the games on Sky, the games on BT, the games on Amazon Prime, we should be able to hear that communication, I think, between referee and VAR. So there's nothing dodgy going on. We know what's happening. And that would just give, for me anyway, fans a lot more clarification. But that's enough of VAR. Moving on and diving deeper into analysis of the game before we do move on about the game. So, Michael Keane, as you know, scored that wonder goal for Everton. Ended up, didn't he, getting the point for Everton? He hardly ever scores, but he came up with that goal. And it was the same. Lewis Dunk, Brighton, hardly ever scores. I don't know how long it's been since he scored, but he scored. I know for a fact he scores more own goals than actual goals. So he scores in the wrong net. But Tottenham, Dr. Tottenham, as I like to say, let him score. So I want to know, starting with you, Marlon, from that set piece, that we conceded to Brighton, which I think is a massive issue. I want to know who's to blame. Some people say it's the system, the way we're playing, because it was almost like zonal marking. And I believe this. I think, it's a system problem because of the way, the players are set up to defend. And because for me, Marlon, it looked like, the players didn't know who they're marking individually. And for me, that's a Stellini and system, Conte, if you like, a system issue. I know you're shaking your head, but for me, it's a system issue because you've got to set out before the game, who's marking who, and the players look clueless. Obviously, I want to know your thoughts on this. I have discussed it. I did discuss it on the View from the South Stand. What was it? A couple of days ago, yesterday. But no, I want to know your thoughts on it. But for me, it's a system issue. But also, Captain Lloris, vocal, same mark up, but who's to blame for you? I know what you're going to say, but go on.
Look, you just said, Conte and the system's to blame. And I'm looking at it as we've played 30 games this season in the league. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to sit there and tell me after 30 games, they still don't know how to defend from a corner. They still don't know who they're marking. They still don't know. They do the exact same corner routine.
Yeah, it's worrying.
So for me, it's the players and how they're interpreting this information. You're going 30 games now. Now, there was a corner just before Lewis Dunk got that one, and it happened about 5-10 minutes before, right? Now, Eric Dyer was looking at it. Hugo Lloris was looking at it. Harry Kane was looking at it, right? These are meant to be the leaders of our team. Romero, again, I think he was one that was cool.
Yeah.
Actually, he might have been him that was cool. They've looked at this. They saw.
I had Perisic, Dyer, and Romero names were mentioned. I believe you got caught out.
Okay, out of all of these players, how long have they all been playing football? Right, the exact same corner routine happened. I'm pretty sure it was 2 or 3 minutes before when Lewis Dunk didn't get a clean header on it. They're going to do the exact same again, and they sat there and went, "Oh, okay, we'll just watch it and do." They're going to do exactly the same. I'm sorry, these players have got players have got to take responsibility at some point. At some point, they've got to take responsibility for who they're marking. And now, if they're marking zonal, right? Yeah, they do it every week. They've just seen a corner come in 5 minutes before. I know Eric Dyer. The only reason people say Eric Dyer plays is because he's good at organising. Okay, he's just seen it 2 minutes before. What the hell? These players have to take some blame at some point. The system has been played for how many games have we played this season? And you're going to sit there and tell me that it's down to tactics when, I'm sorry, if they can't take that on board, what does he then go to a man marking system where probably the exact same thing will happen because they won't be able to take that instruction on board? That's where I sit with that.
Okay, Marlon, but I will question for you. I want to know. So, if the players, like in that situation, you look like they don't know who to mark, whose fault is that? Is it still not making that clear?
No, it's down to zonal marking. No, it's down to Lloris, and I'm going to sit there and say Eric Dyer because Eric Dyer is marking nobody for corners. You see, he's standing there in the middle, right? And I think he's got to be the organizer, the captain. And the organizer, which is Dyer, should be telling everyone. And after that first corner, should be telling Romero or Perisic, follow him. So what did they do, right? So after the goal's gone in, what did they do after every corner after that? Who went and marked him? Yeah, who just made sure he couldn't get the run on it? It was Oliver Skipp, the smallest man on the pitch, right? But he never got a run in after that. But
is that Stellini for not making it clear? Because for me, it should be worked on in training. You've got Lewis Dunk, who's Brighton's most dangerous player from set pieces, and he's left free.
Yeah, but
you're not going to forget that as a player, surely.
Yeah, but I look at someone like Eric Dyer, right, who's meant to be the organizer, and he's like, this is why I have a problem. This is why I have a problem with him because he's seen that situation. And this goes down to Lloris as captain as well. And I'm very surprised. Harry Kane, who's meant to be the big all-in and who everyone wants as captain, he has seen that as well. And not one of them, between the three of them, have not
Perhaps they don't know.
But then, whose fault's that? I'm sorry.
Well, it could be Stellini not making that clear, not working on it.
I'm going to fit there, Fred.
I'm challenging you here.
No. I've played in football teams, right? I've played in football teams. And when we've been marking from a corner, right?
Yeah.
If the first one we've practiced at all and it hasn't worked and we've seen what they do, who's the person that goes, actually, let's tweak it a little bit because this is their main threat guy. You stick on him and it will either be the captain or the person who is going to be doing the organising from a corner. So, and my thing is the coach will give them 80% of the tools to go out there, but the other 20% of things like that needs to be organised by the captain. we needs to be done by the captain and the person who's meant to be organising for the corner. And if they can't get it right, it doesn't matter which corner we do, because I bet you if we went man marking, the same thing would have probably happened. They would have probably done exactly the same thing.
Are you for zonal marking then, Marlon?
It depends. It depends, because there's an argument for both, right? I remember. I think it was Rafa Benitez that came when he came over. He was the first one to introduce it, right? And I remember there was a stat, and everyone was like, "You can't do it. You can't do it. You can't do it." But Liverpool at the time had conceded the least amount of corners compared to everyone else that was man marking. So it's always dependent on the player. I do prefer man marking. I'm not going to lie. I do prefer it. But that corner on Saturday is not down to the coach. It is down to them players on that pitch. Because if they've got the desire, right, that we all know they don't have. I'm sorry, you can't watch a corner come in once and then think it's not going to happen again. Because if they got the run on you, they're going to try it again. So who then, when they had the third corner, told Oliver Skip to go on the man? Was that Stellini, or was that Dyer, or was that Lloris, or even Kane?
You'd hope it's Lloris, but it's probably Stellini. Lloris is captain for me, needs to take responsibility. But crackers, bring you onto this. Who's to blame for that set piece? Because we looked absolutely clueless.
And no leaders, Harry. There's absolutely no leaders in that team. Issue. And that's the club at the moment. From top to bottom, there's no one leading the club. There's nobody setting the example. You know, you never get Daniel Levy telling everybody, "I'm the sheriff in this Wild West, and this club's going to be doing this, this, and this." We've got no manager as such. We've got no
manager for the men's or women's team, by the way.
No, exactly. You know, it's like there's just no leaders, and this is filtered down into that dressing room. And quite rightly, that corner 5-10 minutes before, it was a dress rehearsal. You could see how many times do we actually concede goals from not just a corner where they just come up short and then do it again and score like they did on Saturday, but all of a sudden you'll see a cross-field pass that nearly comes off, and you think to yourself, okay, there's your warning. Don't push up too much. When they're in that position again, drop back, But it's, oh, no, we've been told don't do that on the training pitch all week. You're professional footballers. Work it out for yourself, Harry Kane, or even Hugo, I haven't got a tongue in my head, Lloris. He's a goalkeeper, man.
And he's a captain.
For crying out loud, you're a goalkeeper. That should make you a mouthy lunatic anyway. And you're the captain. Yeah. Do you think somebody like Peter Schmeichel would have allowed that from a corner? It'd have been, so if somebody had said to somebody like Peter Schmeichel, "Oh, Sir Alex has told us to zonal mark," what do you think he would have said to somebody like Neville or something? It would have ended in off, I tell you. It's just like, I don't care what he says. This is my box. This is my area.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
Area.
Go, and if you have to kick him up the arse to stop him making his run, that's what you do. So the players, you saw something, figure it out. You're on 200 grand a week. You figure out what to do at corners. All this oh no, I can't drop there because Diet Conte has said that I've just got to mark this little square of the box. Leave off. Just man mark. I think it's a bit horses for courses. In certain games, you could probably zonal mark. If you're up against a team which maybe isn't so much of a threat from a corner, then you can maybe zonal mark and get away with it. But when you're bringing Mr. Bullet Head Dunk along, it's like, oh, hang on a minute. He's going to be a big threat from corners.
The most dangerous player.
Honestly, just the freedom. He had I'm surprised he hadn't been down to the town hall and get the freedom of Tottenham before that corner. It was just ridiculous. So it's not great.
I think the reason why we do zonal mark, if you look at our team, especially the ones that are playing on Saturday, how many of them are actually good at heading the ball? Probably Kane, Romero. That's it. All the rest of them are useless at heading the ball. Every single one of them can't head a ball. So you're asking them to man mark, but actually, a lot of Brighton, like Lewis Dunk would have got runs on them as well. So you kind of have to look at it from that as a personnel. How many people are actually good in the air? And you actually go, actually, none of them really are. So what do? Do you man mark with a bunch of players that actually can't head the ball, or do you zonal mark just hoping it doesn't fall into that area? And I think that's where Tottenham are at the moment. They just have to go with that zonal marking, because most of the time, most people won't put in a decent corner. You're like majority of the time, but if they do, you're just hoping that it falls to someone else in the box. And that's probably where Spurs are at the moment, because you're asking Romero and Harry Kane, because most of the time Harry Kane is probably at the front post, because most of the time most corners won't go beyond him, and he's the one heading it out. And that's probably where we're at the moment. So that's when it comes to corners, I think that's probably our biggest problem at the moment.
It looks like we've taken the show over. It's our show now.
Yeah.
Hello, and welcome to Cracker's Show. I've just inherited a whole YouTube channel.
I'm happy to be the first guest.
And joining me this evening, I think somebody's Wi-Fi router's just gone pop, to be honest. He's got to put another 50p in the meter. Oh man. Poor Harry, I bet he's having kittens now, or he's locked himself out. But it is a problem, isn't it, at the moment, with the lack of leaders at the club. There's just no leadership at all there at the moment. You know, it just seems so rudderless and leaderless. You know, it's just, I keep saying, more than who the actual person we get, can we not just get a club style and a club identity and decide what we want to be as a club, and then pick a manager that reflects that, back him, and bring players in. And if there's current players that don't want to be part of that, then so be it. I'd just rather go for a rebuild for 4 or 5 years and try and, dare I say, light the lot down the road. You know, just be brave. It kills me to say it, but they've backed him at brave decisions, and that is, you know, I think that corner was literally a reflection of where we are as a club.
It was, and we kind of said this at the weekend as well. That corner so reflected Spurs as a club right now, and you could tell there was no leaders in it. And I think Spurs' biggest problem right now, if you look at the core of our side, none of them are leaders, apart from probably Harry. Right, but we've got no leaders in midfield. We've got no leaders in defence, and our goalkeeper is on his way out. And that's the biggest problem. We don't need to go and buy the world-class players at the moment. We need to sort out that core and get them back, and actually get some leaders in that dressing room. And then from there, your problems will then start to kind of disappear. I look at the old Chelsea team. There, John Terry in midfield, John Terry at the back. Frank Lampard in midfield, Didier Drogba up front, and Peter Cech. And all the rest, that team could have changed around them. But as long as those 4 were the core, it worked. And then you can see it with Arsenal this year. You've got Ramsdale, right, who's a leader. You've got Gabriel, who's taken on that mantelpiece. You've got Xhaka in midfield, right? And then you've got Odegaard, who's probably more the front line. That's their core. Take one of them out, then they suffer a little bit. But actually, when you've got the core correct, the rest of it can change and be interchangeable when you want. And that's Spurs' biggest problem right now.
No,
and joining us this evening is Harry. Evening, Harry.
Or his debut.
I know, last technical issue, first Wi-Fi issue of the evening as well. Honestly, it has to come halfway through a show. But I'd like to interrupt this comment from Holly. I didn't realise I didn't sub. You're now on 400. Congratulations. Thank you for the sub, Holly. And thank you, everyone, for 400 subscribers. Just to give people an idea, that means that we have gained roughly 33 subscribers on today alone. So it's been a crazy day. So thank you for the support. It's come out of nowhere. So thank you for that. And thank you, Holly, for subscribing. But before we get to people's questions that they left on Twitter, there's a lot of people waiting in this room that have been waiting over an hour now. So apologies for that. We had a lot to talk about. But last thing, I want to know, Stellini's red card. I want to start with you. Marlon, I want to know your thoughts on Stellini's red card. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I believe it was given because he couldn't control his technical area. For me, De Zerbi red card was deserved. You could see he was a lunatic from the start. I don't know how he can question that. But Marlon, will know your thoughts. But Stellini, I know it's a rule. I think it's crazy. But do you think the club will appeal it? Will it be downgraded? Far away, Marlon.
To be fair, it was I think it was Ryan Mason causing some of the issues as well. So
Yeah.
So maybe he done it on purpose so he can be in the dugout next week. Yeah, it was a weird one. Couldn't really understand it because Stellini, if he's not there, it's his whole bench. It's his whole bench causing the issue. So it is kind of thing. But it was De Zerbi, obviously, from the beginning, from those comments that, you know, Stellini had made in Italian to an Italian press, that he was just not happy with. Not entirely sure why. It didn't sound really that bad. But maybe this is, you know, he might be hot-headed like that. You know, this might be his character.
I mean, I think he's a nutter. I think it was an absolute nutter on the touchline.
But what didn't help, I suppose, for Brighton is how many decisions were going against them as well that day.
Yeah,
it just probably made it a lot worse. A bit of a weird one. Both, if someone did deserve to go from the Spurs bench, and unfortunately, I think they couldn't pinpoint one person, so they went, you know what, Stellini, you're gonna have to take it. You're the man responsibility for them. There you go. But yeah, it is what it is. I won't read too much into it. If Tottenham appeal, they appeal. If they don't, they don't. I don't think they will. If I'm being honest,
no,
I think the man at the top probably wants Ryan Mason to do it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we will get onto that, but you know, Ryan Mason comes in, brings Danjuma on, and we get a goal, we win the game. So it can't be that bad, theoretically, anyway. Crackers, bring you on this. You know, where do you stand? Stellini's red card, is it harsh? Should it and will it be downgraded? And can you understand? For me, I don't like the rule, but it is a rule. You know, if your manager fails to control the technical area, you know, he has to go. So I want to know your thoughts on that. Because obviously Stellini wasn't involved in that clash that ended up deserving getting sent off as well.
Well, I think Stellini should have got a red card for not getting involved. To be honest, it's like when things like this happen in football, I mean, you know, it almost reverts back to like Sunday League football. And in essence, you can have a stadium of 60,000 and you can add 7 noughts on the end of a value of a player, and this, that, and everything else that goes on in the circus that's Premier League football, Champions League football. But at the end of the day, the game that gets played is nothing different to what gets played on the park Sunday morning. And it comes with all the same emotions and the same feelings and the same tensions. And sometimes, just sometimes, these things blow up because you're worth £100 million as a player, or because you're earning £1 million a week as a player. That doesn't mean that can now control your emotion and your anger or everything else that goes with it. So these things happen. Now, when they do, go and get involved. Go and show you care. Go and grab him by the throat if needs be, if he's been disrespecting you all afternoon. So at least, you know, get hung for a sheep as a lamb, man. Like, you know, he stands there like this with his arms folded. That's not going on. Look at me, ref. Look how much of a good boy I am. Yeah. I'm not getting involved in this. He still gets sent off.
Crackers. He said he's concentrating on the players, but he didn't say anything. He's not even communicating. What's he, you know, he's in his own world almost. He's not speaking to anyone. He's not looking at anyone. For me, I want to see the passion. And Conte, to be fair to him, if he was there, he would have given it.
Of course you do. That's exactly what you see. You want to see somebody, be you on the pitch or you in the dugout or you in the boardroom. And that's a real big problem at Spurs at the moment. Nobody feels like they are actually Tottenham. And I think this is what's causing all the calls at the moment for Maurizio Pochettino, because he feels like the last man that was one of us, that hurt like one of us, would go and get involved if someone was disrespecting us. Some passion. He felt it. He was Tottenham. And I think that's why that's what we're missing at the moment. Nobody in that boardroom feels like it. Nobody in that dugout feels like it, except for maybe Ryan Mason. So somebody's just put on a screen. Poch during the Battle of the Bridge. All right, okay, we lost our heads and they dragged us down and we got involved. But I couldn't have been prouder of Tottenham that night in some ways, because it looked like everybody was giving everything for that
That's
club.
all you ask.
know?
That's all you
That's
can
all
ask
you
for.
are. So him stood there with his arms folded. I'm not getting involved. Well, if you're not getting involved, then you can go. See you later. Because Ryan Mason was right in amongst it. Don't worry about that. He was properly in there, and I don't think it's any shock. But once Stellini went and Ryan Mason was in the dugout, we actually started to look a little bit better. We actually went a little bit. So maybe, just maybe, there's a little bit of hope for the rest of the season, these 8 games, if Ryan Mason's there and running the team, that he might actually get a little bit more out of these players because they actually want to play for him. But the whole thing was a nonsense. What was like De Zerbi even at the start of the game? He obviously had a bee in his bonnet about something, but people have been linking him to the Spurs job. I don't think he's ready for it, to be honest. I think he's feeling the pressure of being up there or thereabouts, De Zerbi.
Yeah, and he's very on edge.
Yeah, he was very, very edgy, wasn't he? So I don't know. Maybe he's just not got the cojones for it yet, to be honest. He might just not be ready. So odd. Very, very odd situation, but we all love something like that in football every now and then, don't you? If all of a sudden it just all kicks off, everybody in a big old melee, because it reminds you of what you go through on a Sunday morning at Sunday morning football, doesn't it? Despite all the millions, it's the same game. So good red card. Don't appeal it.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I think it might be better for us, I think, Ryan Mason, because I think he proved that. People say, he hasn't had long enough, but I think he proved that, in that game, he's in control of the dugout. Danjuma comes on, Dyer's moved into defensive midfield. We've gone for the game and we've scored at the end of the day. It can't be that bad. But moving on to the, thank you for everyone who's waited for a long time to get through the questions that were put forward this morning for the podcast. First one I'm going to give to you, Marlon. Someone says, maybe it's just me, but I'm worried that Stellini will get the job full time. Could this happen? Your thoughts on this?
No, he'll follow Conte to Inter or Juve next year, depending where Conte turns up. I think there's just a bit of Levy needed someone in the dugout. He couldn't change it all.
I think it's more about just getting Conte out the way and relationship with the players.
I'm just going to throw. I know everyone's going because Ryan Mason was in the dugout on the last bit, and that's the reason why it happened. I'm sorry, but Stellini would have played a part in all that tactical.
Would have Stellini gone for it? Because against Everton, he conceded.
I get that, and I think he learned I think he learned from that mistake. And
he defended it in his press conference. He defended it after the game.
He would do. You're gonna defend what you do, but I'm gonna sit there and go between him and Mason, because Mason was there too, and Mason's got would have been making decisions with him. It's not just the one thing; they're doing this together. Remember, and I think the time Danjuma came on, I think they were going to plan it no matter what. Dyer moving into the midfield and that stuff. It's between the both of them. And I always said this when Stellini was in charge, but when everyone was going, oh, look, he's doing a better job than Conte. It was all coming at the time. It was all coming from Conte via a telephone. What it is, but he's making decisions in game. But I just don't think that Stellini's staying. I think the only reason why he stayed was to give a bit of continuity to what's going on. Because if Mason comes in and changes the whole formation, I don't know if he would have or not.
I still think Stellini will have that control. I still think with Stellini's team, Stellini's tactics. I
don't know. I think it's a bit of both. I think at the end of the day, like you said, if he's got that control, then who made the decision on Saturday?
Who knows? We can only guess.
Exactly. And I think everyone's just taking it a bit. I think at the end of the day, there would have been some communication between Stellini and the bench when those subs and when those tactics change. And I think it was all pre-planned. And that's the way it is. I'm not going to sit there and say it was Ryan Mason, because I saw parts of Ryan Mason when he was the manager before, when we went to Ellen Road, when we were at Villa at home, and he made some terrible decisions. Carling Cup final. I'm sorry. I think everyone's just reading too much into it of who made the decisions.
Okay, fair enough. Next question I'm going to give to you, Crackers. Wes says, what position is an absolute must, number one priority, if you can choose one to be strengthened in the summer?
Manager, chairman, director of football. I could go on.
There's quite a lot.
Fans?
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I don't think there's just goalkeeper. Goalkeeper is a definite for me. Hugo been a fantastic servant, but
Yeah.
I think his race is now run. He doesn't command the area enough for me. He doesn't lead as a captain enough for me. So there's one area, and I think equally important is we need to have a little bit of creativity in midfield. And I think you either look at somebody like Maddison, or dare I say this, I would take back for 2 years Luka Modric. I would have him back. He's 37, going on 17. He's
still
honestly,
better than what we've got.
Oh
sure.
man, he's still one of the best in the world at 37. He never gets involved or brought into these conversations when everybody talks about Mbappe or Messi or Ronaldo or Vinny Jr. He's bang up there. He is absolutely bang up there.
It's what he does off the ball and
he's incredible. I would have him back for 2 years. Not just what he can do on the pitch, but what he could bring around the training ground and bring some youngsters through. So I think midfield and goalkeeper and Eric Dyer. And I don't care if there's nobody to replace Eric Dyer. Just play with 10 men, because I can't have him in a Spurs shirt anymore. He might well be a lovely guy, but for me, his race is run at the club too.
Yeah, he means well, but he wouldn't get into any other top four club, would he? That's the reality. Next question, Marlon, I'm going to give to you from Rocco. Who do you think, out of the players on loan, we should keep in the summer? And the first two that come to my head is the Celso and Ndombele. It's been talked a lot about this week, and it's actually very, very split. So, Marlon, go for it.
Look, so first of all, it all depends on who our manager is next season.
Yeah.
Because there's no point bringing Ndombele or Lo Celso back if the manager doesn't suit them. And that seems to be with both. Well, Ndombele, unfortunately, for Napoli, he's a bit part player. He plays here and there, and they use him when they need him. And he's, and that's the way it is. For me, Lo Celso, I just don't think the Premier League's made for him. So, but if you're talking about loan players, the only player that I'd probably keep, but even that's at a push, will be Spence. Spence seems to be doing okay, but the problem is we've got Porro and Royale in that position as well. So it's dependent on who the manager is, because if we bring in a manager that doesn't like Lo Celso, doesn't like Ndombele, but likes Spence, or the other way around, likes Lo Celso,
very good point.
It kind of stuck. So it's all dependent on who the manager is and what tactics we play next season, and that's how I'm going to answer that, because it's manager's more important than who the players are out on loan are.
Okay, fair enough. It's related to this. So, Crackers, next question for you. Peter says, who I've seen in the chat. So, Peter, if you're still here, your question is going to be answered. Then Ndombele is someone who will probably return to the club in the summer. Would it be cut losses and sold at cut price, or try to get his talent to shine through? Where do you stand?
You've got no chance of getting Ndombele to play for the club. I don't think you've got any manager. Listen, if he was willing to, you take him back all day long. And every day and twice on a Sunday. He is insanely talented. He is an incredible footballer.
It's when he wants
to. It is. I mean, I saw an interview with Gareth Bale. Now, bearing in mind what he'd been at Real Madrid, and he was asked who's the best footballer you've played with, and without flinching, he went Ndombele. He's insanely talented, and he is, and do you know what? He annoys me greatly, because you see all these kids wanting to be footballers. I mean, they give everything to be a footballer, and they don't make it. He is that talented and couldn't care less. And that's criminal. That is absolutely criminal waste of what other millions and millions of kids absolutely burn to do. And look, if he was willing to give it a go, I'd take him back and probably make him first on my team sheet. He's that good. But if you can't get a tune out of him, what's the point? What is the point? And I don't think anyone can.
High wages as well.
Exactly. But he's worth them wages. He's worth every penny of those if he plays to his potential. But he
absolutely
won't. So,
no, I think it's spot on.
Can I add to that as well? I think,
go on for free,
with the Ndombele situation, when you get a man like that who comes through the door for that amount of money, right? And I've been like this, and this is a Spurs thing, right? If you put Ndombele in Man City, the club will look after him because of the investment they've put behind it. Look how long it's taken Pep Guardiola to get a tune out of Jack Grealish. Yeah, because we all said £100 million flop. We was all sitting there going, but it's taken. Look, Jack Grealish right now is probably playing some of the best football that we've seen him play. Right, and Villa fans might argue and say no, it was under us, but actually for us looking at it, he's now producing the goods. Now, for Spurs, whenever we buy these expensive players, we don't look after them well. Right, I look at Salgado, I look at other players like that. We need, when Spurs buy players, we need to play with a mental attitude like Harry Kane, who wants to do it themselves. I look at Dele Alli, right? We didn't look after him in the end, right? And look how his career's turned out, right? And I know people sit there and go, but these players are on this amount and this, but you have to look after your investment. And if you don't look after them properly, this is what's going to happen. And we've had too many players at Spurs fall down the wayside. But if you've got people like Gareth Bale, who's got their own determination to go and be the best, they're okay. But with people, but if you look at the rest of the squad, most of our players just go off the rails. And I've always said this. I've always said that as a club, we don't look after our top talent off the pitch to make them be better on it. And if they don't produce within the first year, right, we kind of let them go and go, okay, that investment's wrong. Let's move on to the next. And we, like with Celso and Ndombele, we've done exactly that. We've not got a manager to suit both the way they play, and yet we're all writing them off already.
Yeah, fair enough.
So, and that's how I feel.
This next question then is for you. Who from the side that started versus Brighton would you move on in the summer? And I'm going to read you through the team for anyone who didn't know. So you've got Lloris, you've got back three of Romero, Dyer and Lenglet, you've got fullbacks of Perisic and Porro, you've got the combination of Højbjerg and Skip, which is rather defensively minded in midfield, probably due to the injury of Bentancur. You've got Kulusevski, Son, as you know, and Kane, as always, number 9. Who would you move on?
I'm only because I don't. It's quite a long-winded question. I'm only going to pick. I'm going to pick one. Right.
Go on.
They're going to pick one. If out of all of that list and that starting lineup, Dyer, and I don't even need to make any. All I'm going to say is second half against Everton. Right. We've just come out for the second half. Gives the ball away straight away. Matoma's goal. Yeah. Gives the ball to them so they can lay it across, and then looking at Romero to come cover his mistake when Matoma handballs it. Doesn't think to go across or anything, just goes, crap, and leaves it. Eric Dyer.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Okay, crackers. So, next question is for you. Mm-hmm. Ray says, even though the club has frozen season ticket prices, that was due to the backlash, and I would like to say, add on to that credit to the supporters' trust changed for Tottenham, the fans who demanded change, because I'm someone who believes that I think it's a fact really that if we hadn't done that, then they would have raised prices. Don't tell me that wouldn't have happened. He says, is it enough, or should they be offering something like a few cup games included in the price? So where do you stand on that, crackers? I love that comment.
Well, they've frozen season ticket prices. They haven't for corporates, by the way. They've gone up, but okay, these are the
merchandise will go up as well. You wait.
Well, yeah, exactly. The price of a pint will go up. The price
drinks,
of a pie will go up. But then these things are choices that you can make when you go into the ground, whether you get involved with them or not. So I don't know. I was surprised they froze the prices actually, because they're normally so tone deaf in their ivory towers at Spurs. They'd have gone, no, 5 or 6% like to add onto the price. So, you know what? Maybe
finally a good decision.
Exactly. Yeah, but you're right. If they hadn't have come under such pressure from different angles, the trust, as you say, changed for Tottenham, and just generally they did take the temperature of the fan base, they would have put them up. Don't worry. If there's a board that was happy to take Tottenham to Stratford and still try to call them Tottenham Hotspur, you can bet that they would have put them prices up if they thought they could have got away with it. So listen, after this season, I'm surprised they're not giving you 1,500 quid to go and watch it, let alone you give them 1,500 quid. And
yeah, it was refunds fans should get. I think a lot of games they haven't turned up.
Yeah, a cup game, adding a cup game, giving somebody a little something would be good. It would be nice. It's a little bit of something to give back, you know, and people give you a little bit of slack when you get things like that. You know, they've all the clubs though have all kicked on into the long grass. The cup games, a lot of the teams have cut those now. You're not going to get the atmosphere at games if you haven't got the fans on the terraces.
Absolutely,
you know, and I'm talking about the fans that will go and make a bit of noise. This is why it's so watched around the world, because of the fantastic atmosphere in the stadiums and that. They're getting billions of pounds out of TV deals left, right, and centre. They could let people in there literally for nothing, and it wouldn't make much of a dent. It's not a big amount of money in the grand scheme of things. So it was the right thing to do, to freeze the prices. It really was.
Absolutely, thank you, Crackers. A couple of questions left. Marlon, for you, Ben says, should we be negotiating deals like Maddison without a manager? He says no. I know what you think about this, but have you got anything to add on to that? Surely Tottenham do, but we shouldn't really. We never learn.
Mate, look, at the end of the day, you go and sign Maddison and he'll probably bring in a manager that don't play an attacking midfielder. That'll be typical Spurs. Yes, Maddison's a great player, don't get me wrong, but the board should not be getting involved in football decisions, because it'd be like Conte, Mourinho going telling Levy how much the pint of beer should be, how much the season ticket should be, how much should that be. Actually, if you do it this way, if they started telling him business stuff, what would Daniel Levy do? He'll tell him piss off, right?
Yeah.
Right. So the same should be said for the board and stuff. They at the end of the day, let football people make football decisions, and let the business people make the business decisions, and you can have a happy marriage. You can have a happy marriage, right? I recently heard there's a guy, the new guys at Bournemouth, right? The guy come out and said, right, one of the directors said, look, I know nothing about football, right? I have no clue, yeah? So please don't come to me saying we should be signing this player, that player, this player. Because he said, I've got a football team and a football side for that. Let them do that. But if there's something around the stadium that you feel needs to be better, if the hospitality needs to be done, that's my job, right? And apparently this is what's been done, and he's actually been going through it, and they've been all going with their
That's all right, but with us, you have Levy, who's got his nose in the football side of things when he hasn't got a clue. All he can tell you is, that Harry Winks, he runs around a lot. Do you remember that? That's all he knows.
This is how
shocking to compliment a player. Oh, he runs around a lot.
Daniel Levy is us. David Levy is all us with money trying to get involved in the football, right? Because I always say it's probably us fans as well that have caused managers' dismissals in the past. I reckon,
true, good point.
Right? And where we're impatient. We are impatient. We're an impatient bunch, right? And he's fed that down to us as well, right? Because how can you have, I think it's only 3 managers that have lasted more than 2 years. I know the Premier League's like that, but those 3 managers are probably the 3 most memorable managers under the ENIC tenure, right? Yo, Redknapp, and Poch. Yeah. But at the end of the day, when they all start, apart from Redknapp, to be fair, but as soon as it started to go to shit, Yo was sacked, Poch was sacked, right? Redknapp was sacked obviously for different reasons, and we won't go into that. But this is where we are, right? You got to leave business to business people and football to football people. And yes, the people at the football side might get it wrong, right? Because if you look at how many managers we've had, right, and this has always been a big question, how much money have we spent on managers, transfers, and all that? And we've had to cover those mistakes later on. And everyone
more than we spend in the transfer window.
Yeah, and everyone will go about net spend and this, that, and the other. But we've made the mistake in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Yes, he's good at covering the mistake, but why are we making the mistakes in the first place to begin with? And
exactly.
That's the questions we need to ask ourselves.
Yeah, and
So yeah, to the
Levy,
Madison thing. Yeah, go back to the Madison thing. Football to football, business to business.
Yeah, spot on. Levy, if you're watching, follow Marlon's advice, because I think nearly every Spurs fan would like you to step away. And perhaps with the appointment of Scott Munn, that may happen, but I think we all know
Yeah,
Levy
we'll
will
see.
still have something to say about that. Final question of the day for you, Crackers. Joanne says, Conte's famous rant about Spurs, do you think it will be a deterrent for future players and managers and maybe discouraged to join Spurs? Will it have that effect of players not joining and managers not joining? That what Conte said? Or do they ignore it?
Yeah, it's a good question, but then
It is.
Conte has a long history of being a bit of a man baby, isn't he? When things aren't going his way, he can be a real man baby. He's done it at Chelsea. He's done it elsewhere. He shoots from the hip. He speaks before he thinks about things. And I don't know. He's been and gone. I don't think the players really care who owns the club. It's the manager that they're playing for, and if they're getting their paycheck at the end of the month, I think they want to be
right. Yeah.
Exactly. But they want to be comfortable with the football they're playing, and they play for managers. They don't really play for chairman, do they? I mean, even with Spurs, as I've said before, what do you care if it's Joe Lewis, Lennox Lewis, or Leona Lewis owns the club? As long as they're getting it right, the man writing the checks can be anyone, really. As long as they're not meddling and interfering, and let the football people do the football. So, no, I can't really see anybody going, oh, yeah, okay, I know you've offered me 150 grand a week to come here and play in these world-class facilities, train here and here, but I'm not that comfortable because Conte said something in a big pissy fit once. I can't really see that happening, to be honest.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you, Crackers. Let's wrap this up now. So, I want basically the one-word answer again and put you on the spot. Marlon, I'm going to put you on the spot first. Where do you think we will finish the end of the season? Come the end of the season, games time. Where do you think that we will finish?
Do you know what? After seeing the weekend's result, 6.
6, fair enough. Crackers.
I tend to agree 6, but this is the Premier League, so
anything can happen.
3rd.
That's still possible. It's still possible. That's the thing. That's possible. Possible.
Yeah, it is. That's the crazy nature of this league. Don't put it past Tottenham not to go to places like Newcastle and go and win. If you can go to Man City and keep beating them, you can go anywhere and win. Simple as that.
We beat City at home, but we can't beat Sheffield United.
Exactly.
That's
crazy. Exactly. There you go. So,
absolutely. No, I'm agreeing with you both actually, which is interesting. There, I'm going 6th as well. Last but not least, thinking ahead. It's hard to think ahead. Obviously, we just had that game, but Saturday we play Bournemouth at home, which it seems anyway, certainly for me, the easiest game on paper that we've got to the end of the season. Before you get to that storm, if you like to go into St James's Park, going to Anfield, United at home, tough games in there. Crackers, come to you first. I want to know your prediction for Saturday, Spurs Bournemouth.
They are scrapping for their lives, aren't they? So
they really are.
As you say, on paper, we should be winning that, but you don't play football on paper, do you? You're up against a team absolutely scrapping. There's a different dynamic now. Saturday, they are in good form.
They've come into a bit of bounce, yeah.
Exactly, but now we've got no assistant manager of the assistant, who was the assistant manager of the manager, assistant manager. So there's another voice in the dugout and the dressing room this week. So who knows? They might go and give Ryan Mason everything, and it's a comfortable win. But honestly, Tottenham is the team you cannot put in your betting accumulator because you just don't know what you're going to get. So, but I don't know. I think we win it. I do think we win it.
Fair enough. Did you say a score prediction?
I'll go. Well, we can't keep a clean sheet because of the clown's car on fire at the back. But I'll go 3-1 Tottenham.
3-1 Tottenham. Okay, Marlon, prediction and why?
Draw 2-2 because
Really?
we're going to be Spurs again.
Yeah, well, there you go. Fair enough. Okay, so we got a win and we've got a draw, and I think we're gonna win this game. I got a prediction right 2-1 against Brighton, which is I haven't got a prediction right for a while. So that was nice to see actually. I did expect it to happen. To be fair, I mean the way that game went, it shouldn't have been right really, but hey ho. Prediction. I was going to say 3-1, but since Crackers has said 3-1 to make it interesting, I'm going to be bold and go for 4-1. I think Mason being in charge, I think he have that little bit more power. We see perhaps the likes of Dyer step out of his position because I'm sick of him playing defender. I actually think he's all right, done better anyway as defensive midfielder. I want to see us go for it a little bit. Dan Juma might get a surprise start or certainly get more minutes. But yeah, that's for me. Let me know your predictions in the comments below. But I think that is it. I think for today's show, it's been a long one, but it's been an entertaining one. So Crackers, massive thank you for coming on. It means both your debuts on the show. Crackers, as you know, I told you at the start, you're someone I want to get on for a long while. You've been fantastic. So thank you very much for coming on. Really appreciate it. Where can people find you?
At Mr. Cracknell across the socials, Twitter and Facebook and Insta, not TikTok. I'm not.
Not yet.
That's a young man's game. And neither not Mumsnet either. You can't find me on there either, or MySpace. So listen, Harry, thank you for the invite. Lovely to see you and Marlon and everybody that watched and commented, and been terrific fun. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, pleasure to have you on Crackers. Absolute pleasure. Marlon, thank you for coming on again. Your debut on the show. Where can people find you? I mean, I'm on your show a lot, but it's the first time I've asked you a lot of times. You have let me down, but thank you for coming on. Where can people find you?
Yeah, on YouTube, the channel's called A View from the South Stand TV. We do match reactions, usually about 7:30 on the weekend, and then straight after if it's a midweek game. We do have a monthly show as well where we've got a couple season ticket holders that we get on and get their month review because obviously they were at the game, so they can't come up with match reactions. I thought it was good. Yeah, so we get them on at the end of the month to see how they've taken what the club's been doing. But yeah, my handle's here. You can put that in Twitter, you can put it in Instagram, and you can put that on YouTube, and you'll find the channel. Yeah, Harry's on most of the time as well. I think we are just close to hitting the 400 as well, and we're trying to get 500 before the end of the season. I host it odd weeks. I've got another host called House. He does host it weeks, so you haven't got the same voice going at you every week. So,
what are you saying?
What are you saying? It's really weird because me and Haas actually have completely two different opinions on Spurs, so it's good to actually get when he has guests on, and we tend to go ahead with each other, like when we're personally texting each other. But actually, as it comes to the show, we've got the same agenda, which is actually it makes good, and people from what they've said have liked listening to our show. So hopefully,
absolutely,
we'll always try and get people on, and we try and vary the fans as well that we come on, because try and get different voices, try and get different opinions, and it's kind of one of them. We don't care if you're Levy in, Levy out. Come and express your opinion. Tell us what was right about the game. It is your platform. It's not ours. We're just there to ask you questions. So,
fair enough. No, thank you, Marlon.
And that's the way it is. Yeah. No, thank you, and thank you for inviting me. And I'm so sorry I haven't come on earlier.
No, you're fine. You're welcome.
I've got a good week. I've got Crackers this week, and I've never done something with Crackers, so I'm well happy.
There you go. You're happy as I am. So go check out. Don't forget to check out Last Word on Spurs and A View from the South Stand, two excellent channels, two excellent pages as well. You can find me. You've got my tag there, Harry Scarf 22. But most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for 400 subs. It's been a crazy day. What are we in 9th show now? It's gone down really, really well, better than I ever anticipated. I mean, it's going to go down well when you've got the likes of Crackers coming on your show. It's definitely gone better than planned. Thank you all. Leave a like if you liked it. If you're watching it after, remember it is live, but you can watch it on Spotify after as soon as tomorrow. But thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for your lovely comments. It's definitely been one of the best, if not the best shows we've done so far. But as we like to say on this channel, Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. And boom.